I gave up everything for my little brother. Our business, our family name, even our dying father's trust. And when he finally had it all, he betrayed me. But what he didn't know was that I'd come back one day and take back more than what he stole. My name is Daniel Hayes. And everything I ever did in life, I did it with my brother in mind. Zach was 3 years younger than me. Charming. Quick with a smile. The kind of kid teachers adored, even when he forgot his homework. Me? I was the quiet one. The planner. The fixer. If Zach lit fires, I was the one running for water. Our dad, Robert Hayes, built a modest but respected construction company from scratch. Hayes and Sons Construction, a name he plastered across beat-up trucks, dusty job sites, and decades of hard-earned reputation. He always said the business would be ours someday. One day, you boys will build this bigger than I ever could. But in the final years of his life, cancer devoured him slowly. While I was hauling materials and managing contractors, Zach was showing up late, forgetting invoices, skipping meetings. Still, Dad adored him. He's just a little lost, he'd say. He'll come around. When Dad's condition worsened, I stepped up full-time. I ran the books, handled clients, took over payroll. Zach. He'd disappear for days, then show up smelling like whiskey and cologne, promising to do better. But I never stopped defending him, even when employees quit over Zach's messes. Even when we missed a six-figure bid because he forgot to send the proposal. I kept making excuses for him. He's going through a phase. He's under pressure. He just needs time. But deep down, I knew better. Zach wasn't lost. He was entitled. Then came the hospital moment. Dad called us both into his room. His voice was barely a whisper, lungs weakened, skin paper-thin. He took my hand first. Danny, the company, you've kept it alive. He turned to Zach. And you've got the people skills. Use them well. He smiled weakly and added, you'll both run it together. 50-50. My boys. It should have been reassuring. But when I looked at Zach, he wasn't looking at Dad. He was looking at me. And smiling. Dad passed 3 days later. And that's when everything began to unravel. At the reading of the will, our father's lawyer looked uncomfortable. There's been an amendment, he said, adjusting his glasses. Apparently, 3 weeks before his death, Dad signed papers giving Zach majority control of the business. 60% to Zach, 40% to me. I felt like the floor dropped beneath me. I asked the lawyer why. He hesitated. Your father said you wanted it that way. My jaw locked. I never said that. Zach's hand gripped my shoulder. Come on, bro. You know you're the genius. I'll just handle the public stuff. We'll still run it together. Just a technicality. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. So I kept working. Kept grinding 14-hour days while Zach schmoozed clients at bars and took credit at ribbon cuttings. Whenever something went wrong, guess who took the fall? I did. Late deliveries? My fault. Underpaid staff? Talk to Daniel. Missing receipts? Must have slipped through Dan's fingers. Then came the final blow. I showed up one Monday morning to find my office door locked. My name was scraped off the glass. Inside was Zach, feet kicked up on my desk, scrolling his phone like nothing happened. What the hell is this? I asked. He didn't even look up. Restructuring, bro. You're out. I stood frozen. You fired me? He finally looked at me. It's not personal. You're burned out. Clients need fresh energy. I laughed, half mad. I built this place from the ground up. And now I'm building it higher, he said. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I was escorted out like a stranger. Just like that, I was done. But that wasn't the end. That was just the part where I disappeared. For 2 years, I vanished from our hometown. I moved to a small city in the Pacific Northwest, took odd jobs, and reconnected with an old friend named Marcy, who used to work in our accounting department. She had also been pushed out after raising red flags about Zach's expense reports. We started talking, and soon we started plotting. Marcy still had copies of everything: bank statements, client complaints, even audio recordings from meetings Zach had accidentally skipped. Turns out Zach wasn't just incompetent, he was stealing. He'd funneled company funds into private accounts, padded contracts to skim profits, and underpaid workers while leasing luxury cars under the business name. But I wasn't going to the police. No, I had something better planned. Over the next 18 months, Marcy and I started a new venture, Hayes Integrity Contracting. A nod to the name Dad built, and a jab at what Zach had destroyed. We didn't advertise. We didn't poach. We just delivered. Fast, clean, and honest work. Within a year, we had 8 loyal clients. By year 2, we had over 40, including 3 of Zach's biggest accounts who came to us after he botched their projects and ghosted on refunds. Every time I got a new client, I didn't brag. I didn't celebrate. I just worked harder. But I wasn't finished. Using public financial disclosures, I tracked Zach's mounting debt. The man had leased office space he couldn't afford, hired influencers to elevate the brand, and had the audacity to start a podcast called Built from Blood. Irony, right? Meanwhile, I bought back Dad's original office space from an old landlord who hated Zach. I refurbished it quietly. I hung our father's hammer, the one with Robert Hayes, 1976, etched on the handle, on the front wall. And I waited. The day it all came crashing down for Zach started with a mistake. He tried to bid on a $2.3 million contract with the city for a new community center. But guess who already had the inside track?
Me.
Not through bribery or manipulation, through reputation. One of the city officials, Mr. Alvarez, had hired us the previous year for a personal home renovation and was impressed by our work ethic and transparency. He asked, "Didn't you used to be with Hayes and Sons?" I smiled. I was Hayes and Sons. Zach never saw it coming. He showed up to the bidding presentation in a designer suit, smirking and smug, only to see me already there, shaking hands with the board. His face went pale. "What the hell is this?" he muttered. "I'm here for the bid." I replied coolly. "You're joking." "Nope. You can't do this. You're using Dad's name. I'm using the values Dad actually lived by. That's something you'd never understand." I got the contract. Zach didn't even make the second round. The story hit local construction forums.
Fast.
Old Hayes' brother returns with new firm. Zach Hayes snubbed after audit rumors.
Integrity beats ego.
One by one, his clients fled. And then came the lawsuits. A former subcontractor sued Zach for breach of contract. Then a group of employees filed a class action suit for unpaid overtime. Then came the audit. Apparently, some of Zach's marketing expenses were actually personal vacations, parties, and a $12,000 consulting fee to a woman listed only as Savannah L. Even I was shocked. Zach wasn't just selfish, he was stupid. The IRS froze some of his accounts. His office lease was revoked. The podcast died after 6 episodes. The last one was titled When Loyalty Hurts. I didn't even need to get revenge. He did it to himself. One day, I got a call. It was from Zach.
Dan?
"I need help." I stayed silent. I messed up. Bad. Everything's falling apart. I was stupid, man.
You were right.
You always were. He paused, voice cracking. I don't even know who I am anymore. My heart tightened for a second. But then I remembered the years I spent rebuilding alone. How he smiled while locking me out of my own office. How he stood there and lied to my face. So I said one thing. Figured out. The same way I had to. And hung up.